I'm journalist and podcast enthusiast Lauren Windle, and you're listening to The Good Pod Guide, where we help you find your next great listen. All right, today I'm going to talk to you about Behind the Bastards. This is a podcast that looks into the lives of some of the most evil people to have existed in forensic detail. It reveals surprising little-known facts about them and explores what it was that made them so twisted in the first place. And this really piqued my interest for quite a personal reason. As I was looking through the list of topics, one of their subjects was Duterte, who is, for those who haven't come across this guy, leader of the Philippines, very anti anyone struggling with addiction, and encourages those people to just be killed, encourages people to kill addicts effectively. Those of you who have Googled me outside of this podcast may already know that I am in recovery for drug and alcohol addiction. And that is not a secret. I got into recovery back in 2014 and I've written and spoken about it loads. But it is for that reason why any kind of injustice towards someone who is struggling in addiction and in that sort of desperate place, to me, is just absolutely abominable. So obviously the two-parter on that was of interest to me. That said, you know, the clues in the title, it's not a picnic with Mary Poppins. These are all bastards, and they do delve into some real atrocities. But there are also lighter topics. You know, they also teach you about Saddam Hussein's side hustle as a trashy romance novelist, you know? One of my favorite quotes from the show is, "The lesson from history is that no one learns the lessons from history." It's hosted by Robert Evans, with experts and guests in each episode. It started back in 2018 and there are loads. Each of them's an hour to an hour and a half, and there are more than 300. So the amount of content we're talking about is extensive. While the concept is great and the research is really thorough, there have been suggestions from some of the Good Podcast team who follow this podcast that you'll get the best of Behind the Bastards if you head to the back catalogue to some of the earlier episodes. That's not to say that all of the more recent ones are bad. For example, we really liked the class that made 200 Nazis. That was really interesting. And that was in February 2021, where a teacher in the 60s managed to convert 200 pupils into fascists in just 5 days with a highly immoral experiment. We also enjoyed What We Learned from Ben Shapiro's racist novel. Older ones that you may want to dig into are also the two-parter on Duterte, who I've spoken about, or another one that comes highly recommended is The Non-Nazi Bastard Who Helped Hitler Rise to Power. You can't fault Robert's research, as he provides exceptionally valuable and captivating information on the topics at hand. He really sheds light on some of the more bizarre and crazy stories behind the histories of these twisted minds. And if that's your thing, I think you'll like this. In the next episode, I reveal my own special brand of geek, and it has nothing to do with comic books, as I look at the podcast Geek History. You can get more info on the show online at www.goodpodguide.com or follow us at Good Pod Guide on Instagram and Twitter.